Welcome to PharmaCores. At PharmaCores, we are dedicated to revolutionizing the pharmaceutical sector through innovation, education, and strategic collaboration. Our platform is designed to empower industry professionals, support cutting-edge research, and drive global transformation in healthcare.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. You know, we love to go deep on topics that can really make a difference in your work, and today we're diving into operational excellence. And we're using this fascinating document that focuses on defining operational excellence and how it's being used in the pharmaceutical industry.
Right.
And it goes way beyond just the theory. It actually gives a look into how companies are using it to achieve some pretty amazing results.
Yeah, and in pharmaceuticals, those results could be getting treatments to patients faster and better.
Right.
We're talking about taking efficiency and effectiveness to a whole new level.
Okay, so what does operational excellence really mean? I hear people throw that term around all the time.
Well, operational excellence, or OE, as you'll often hear it, it's really about outperforming the competition, but it goes deeper than that.
I see.
It's optimizing every single aspect of how your business runs.
So it's not just a one-time fix then?
It's definitely not a one-time thing. It's
Yeah.
about committing to constantly doing things better, creating a culture of continuous improvement, where every process is always being fine-tuned. And the goal is always to maximize customer value.
Oh, okay, but how do you actually change the entire culture of a company, especially in something as complex as pharmaceuticals?
Yeah, it's not a simple or quick process, but the results can be huge.
Right.
I mean, think about a company like Genentech.
Okay.
They're known for having a really strong OE culture. And because of that, they've been able to consistently bring new therapies to market faster than a lot of their competitors.
Wow. So they're not just keeping up with the industry, they're actually ahead of the curve.
Exactly. And it's not just speed.
Right.
OE also makes sure the quality and compliance is there, and that is super important for pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, of course, when you're talking about people's health, there's no room for error.
Exactly. So OE in this industry is really powerful. It gives you a way to handle those complex challenges and high stakes that are so common in pharma.
Okay, so I get the challenges, but how does OE actually create value? I mean, what are the actual benefits that you can see?
So the document we're looking at outlines 5 key ways that OE creates value. The first one is that it enhances efficiency and reduces costs.
Okay, everyone's looking to do more with less these days, but how does that actually work?
Well, let's say a company streamlines their manufacturing process. They could use something like lean manufacturing principles to eliminate bottlenecks, reduce waste, and ultimately produce more medication at a lower cost.
I see.
And those savings could be reinvested back into research and development, or they could be passed on to patients with lower prices.
Wow, so it's not just about profits, it's about impact as well.
Okay.
What's the next way it creates value?
The second way is by accelerating product development. By finding and getting rid of inefficiencies, companies can bring new treatments to market much faster.
But isn't pharmaceutical development notoriously slow? I mean, you hear about all the red tape and the clinical trial.
Oh, it's true. There are a lot of hurdles you have to jump through,
Yeah.
especially with clinical trials. But OE can help streamline the whole process,
How so?
from making patient recruitment better to using more efficient data analysis.
Oh, I see.
You know, every day that a life-saving drug is delayed is another day that someone is suffering unnecessarily.
Wow, that's a powerful thought.
OE is about getting those treatments to the people who need them
Yeah.
as quickly and as safely as possible.
Okay, so we've got efficiency and speed. What's the third way OE creates value?
The third is strengthening regulatory compliance. Having really robust quality systems and good data integrity practices, those are essential in this industry.
Right, because at the end of the day, the regulations are there to protect patients.
Exactly. And OE gives you the framework for actually building those systems and practices right into how the organization works.
Right.
Let's say you have a company that uses data analytics to monitor their manufacturing process in real time.
Okay.
That lets them identify and fix any deviations from standards right away, so they can prevent potentially serious compliance issues before they even happen.
So it's about being proactive instead of reactive.
That's right.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so we have efficiency, speed, compliance. What's next?
The fourth is improving supply chain reliability.
Okay.
When you have accurate forecasting and resource allocation, it means that products actually reach patients when and where they need them.
And that's critical with medications that people depend on.
Absolutely.
I mean, they can't just go without...
Exactly. Imagine a company that has a really advanced inventory management system.
Yeah.
And that system ensures that the most critical medications are always available. Even when there are unexpected disruptions like natural disasters or even pandemics.
Wow.
That level of reliability can literally mean the difference between life and death.
So it's not just about efficiency, it's about saving lives.
Right.
Okay, so we have efficiency, speed, compliance, reliability. What's the fifth way OE creates value?
The fifth might sound a little counterintuitive, but it's fostering innovation.
Really?
Yeah, by freeing up resources and making operations more streamlined. OE allows companies to invest more in research and development.
So it's not just about doing the same things better. It's about doing entirely new things.
Exactly. Think of a company that implements an automated data entry system.
Okay.
Now their scientists are free to focus on developing groundbreaking new therapies.
Wow.
That's the power of OE.
Right.
It doesn't just improve what you're already doing. It creates the space for real breakthroughs.
So these 5 points really highlight the potential impact that OE can have. But I'm curious about the principles that make it all work. Our source actually outlines 10 core principles of OE.
Right.
And I think it would be helpful to break those down. What's the first one?
The first principle is having a customer-centric focus.
Okay.
Everything you do revolves around understanding what your customer needs and then exceeding their expectations.
And in the pharmaceutical industry, the customer could be a patient or a doctor or even a hospital.
Right, yeah, you got it. And it could even be a government agency.
Right.
OE emphasizes delivering consistent quality, reliability, and innovation. And that builds trust with all of those different stakeholders.
Right. It's not just about meeting the minimum requirements.
That's about going above and beyond.
Right. So it's about creating a culture of excellence that really permeates every part of the business.
Exactly. And that brings us to the second principle.
Okay.
Continuous improvement.
Yeah.
It's not about trying to make huge changes all at once.
Right.
It's about nurturing that culture of ongoing progress, where you're constantly searching for ways to refine and optimize your processes.
But isn't that a bit exhausting? I mean, always striving for improvement can make you feel like you're never good enough.
It's true. It does require a bit of a mindset shift.
Right.
But think about it like an athlete who's always training to get a little bit faster.
Okay.
Or a musician who's always practicing to perfect their technique.
I see what you mean.
It's about pushing the limits of what's possible and never settling for good enough.
It's not about perfectionism. It's about a commitment to growth.
Exactly.
What's the third core principle of OE?
That would be leadership commitment.
Okay.
You absolutely have to have leaders who are championing OE.
Right.
Not just as some kind of initiative, but as a core part of the company culture. They have to lead by example,
Right.
provide resources, and create a sense of accountability.
But what about companies where the leaders aren't really on board? I mean, can you really implement OE without that support from the top?
It's definitely much harder to do.
Right.
That leadership buy-in is essential if you want to create a culture where OE can really thrive. Imagine you have a CEO who regularly takes part in process improvement workshops alongside their employees.
Okay.
That sends a powerful message that OE isn't just another corporate buzzword.
Right.
It's a core value that everyone is expected to embrace.
Oh, it's about leading by example instead of just giving orders.
That's right.
Okay, so we've got leadership commitment. What's the next principle that helps create that kind of environment?
That would be employee empowerment.
Okay, so what does that look like in practice?
It's all about giving your team the tools and the training
Right.
and the authority they need to identify and solve problems.
So it's not just about following orders from the top down. It's about giving everyone a sense of ownership.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When people feel empowered, they're more likely to be engaged and proactive,
Right.
and they come up with more innovative ideas.
That makes sense.
Think about a company that has like a suggestion box program
Okay. Yeah.
where employees can submit their ideas for how to make processes better.
I like that.
Not only do you get valuable insights that way, but it makes employees feel like they're part of the solution.
Yeah, that's smart. Okay, so instead of just following orders, employees are actually encouraged to think critically and contribute their own ideas. That's great. What's next on our list of principles?
Next up is data-driven decision-making.
Okay, we hear that a lot these days, but what does it actually mean in this context?
Basically, it means you're moving away from just relying on gut feelings and intuition.
Right.
You're using concrete data to inform every decision you make.
So it's about taking the emotion out of it and letting the numbers guide you.
Chris,
I like it.
by analyzing key performance indicators and using analytics tools.
Okay.
Companies can make really objective assessments, and then they can use that to figure out where they need to improve.
That's interesting. Can you give me an example of how that might work?
Sure. Imagine a company that's tracking the effectiveness of its marketing campaigns.
Okay.
Instead of just guessing which ones are working, they can use data to see which ones are actually giving them the best return on investment.
Right.
And then focus their energy and their resources accordingly.
So it's not just about collecting data, it's about using it to take meaningful action.
Exactly.
What's the next principle that can help ensure that the data is actually being used effectively?
That would be process visibility.
Okay. I haven't heard that one before. What does that mean?
Basically, it means making sure that everyone involved has a clear understanding of how things actually work.
Okay.
And where there might be bottlenecks or problems.
So it's about transparency and communication.
You got it. When everybody's on the same page, it's a lot easier to coordinate efforts, solve problems quickly, and create that shared sense of ownership.
That makes sense. Can you give me an example of that?
Sure. Let's say a company creates a visual workflow diagram
Okay.
that outlines every single step of their manufacturing process.
Okay.
Now everyone can see exactly how their individual tasks fit into the big picture.
Right.
And they can spot areas where things could be done better.
It's like having a roadmap that everyone can follow.
Exactly.
I like that. Okay, so what's next on our list of OE principles?
Continuous learning and training.
That sounds important. Why is that so crucial for operational excellence?
Well, in today's world, if you're not learning, you're falling behind.
Right, things are changing so quickly.
Exactly, and the pharmaceutical industry is constantly evolving.
Right.
With new technologies and therapies popping up all the time.
That's true.
Companies need to invest in their employees' development. So they have the skills and knowledge to keep up.
Otherwise, they're going to be obsolete.
All right, think about a company that provides regular workshops on things like the latest manufacturing techniques or data analysis tools.
Okay.
Not only does that keep employees engaged and motivated, but it also ensures that the company can stay ahead of the curve.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's a win-win for everyone involved. What's the next principle that helps companies stay nimble and adaptable?
Agility and flexibility.
Oh, that sounds crucial in today's environment.
It really is.
So what does that look like in practice?
It means having flexible processes,
Okay.
empowering employees to make decisions, and being willing to change direction when you need to.
So being responsive instead of rigid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Imagine a company that uses what's called agile project management.
Okay, I've heard of that.
Develop new products
Okay.
that lets them respond to changes in the market or feedback from customers in real time, which means they can make sure they're delivering products that people actually want and need.
So it's about being proactive and embracing change instead of being afraid of it. I like that. Okay, what's next on our list?
The next principle might surprise you, but it's actually essential for true operational excellence.
Oh, really? I'm intrigued.
It's standardization.
Standardization. Now, wait a minute. Doesn't that stifle creativity and innovation?
That's a common misconception, actually.
Okay.
Standardization isn't about creating a one-size-fits-all approach or squashing individuality.
Okay.
It's about establishing clear, consistent procedures for your key processes. So you can reduce errors and make sure you're compliant with all the regulations.
I see.
Think about it like this.
Okay.
If every McDonald's made their burgers a little bit differently,
Yeah,
you wouldn't get that same quality and consistency that they're known for.
that's true.
So it's about creating a reliable foundation for success.
Yeah, exactly. And once you have that foundation,
Right.
your employees are free to focus on innovation and problem solving in other areas.
I see what you mean. So it's not about limiting creativity. It's about freeing it up in the right ways.
That's right. Okay, we're down to our final OE principle. What is it?
It's the lean mindset.
Okay, we hear lean a lot in business, but what does it really mean in the context of operational excellence?
A lean mindset is all about figuring out how to give the most value to your customer
Right.
by getting rid of anything that doesn't contribute to that goal.
So it's about cutting out all the waste.
Exactly. All the unnecessary steps and all the things that slow you down and drain your resources.
So it's not just about working faster, it's about working smarter.
Precisely. And you can apply this to anything,
Wow.
from how you manufacture products to how you handle administrative tasks.
That's a great point. Can you give me an example?
Sure. Let's say a company decides to go paperless.
Okay.
No more printing or filing or storing physical documents.
Yeah, I sense.
They save time and money, and they're doing something good for the environment.
So it's a win-win-win.
Exactly.
I'm really starting to see how these 10 principles all work together to create this really powerful framework for achieving operational excellence.
They do.
It's not just about picking one or two of these ideas. It's
Yeah.
about taking a holistic approach and embracing all of them.
Exactly. Each principle strengthens the others.
Right.
And together, they help you create a culture of continuous improvement with a strong focus on your customers and using data to make smart decisions.
This has been incredibly insightful, and I feel like I have a much better grasp of what operational excellence actually means and why it's so valuable,
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
especially in a demanding field like pharmaceuticals.
Um,
But before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier about how OE helps companies tackle specific challenges. Can you give us some concrete examples of how that plays out in the real world?
Sure. Let's say a pharmaceutical company is struggling with long lead times for getting new drugs to market.
Okay, yeah, that's a common problem.
By using OE principles, they can streamline their clinical trial process,
Okay.
make their manufacturing workflows more efficient,
Right.
and improve communication between all their departments.
And all of that would help get those treatments to patients faster.
Exactly.
That's a powerful example.
Mm.
It really shows how OE isn't just some abstract concept. It's about making a real difference in people's lives. What about another example?
Okay, imagine a company that's dealing with rising manufacturing costs, which is a constant problem in pharmaceuticals.
Right.
By applying lean principles, they can identify areas where they're wasting materials or where processes are inefficient,
Okay.
and then they can implement changes to reduce those costs without sacrificing quality.
So it's about finding those hidden inefficiencies that might be eating away at profits and impacting the bottom line.
Exactly. OE gives you the tools and the mindset to deal with those problems strategically.
I like it. And it's not just about cutting costs, is it?
No, it's not.
I mean, operational excellence can also help companies improve their quality control, reduce errors,
It can.
and make sure they're meeting all those strict regulations that are in place for the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah.
And all of those things contribute to making a stronger, more sustainable business in the long run.
Absolutely.
And even though we've been talking specifically about the pharmaceutical industry today,
Right.
these principles could really be used in almost any industry, right?
Absolutely.
It's all about creating that culture of excellence no matter what kind of business you're in.
That's the key. While our source was focused on pharmaceuticals,
Right.
these principles of operational excellence are universal.
That's a great point.
You can adapt them and apply them to any business or organization that's looking to improve how they perform and how much value they deliver.
This has been an amazing deep dive. I feel like I've learned so much. But before we go, I want to hear your final thoughts. What's the one key takeaway you hope our listeners will walk away with today?
Well, if there's one thing I hope you took away from this, it's that operational excellence isn't just about using a bunch of fancy tools or techniques.
Okay.
It's really a much deeper shift in how you approach your work and how you solve problems.
Oh. So it's not so much about what you do, but how you think.
Exactly. It's about developing that mindset of always wanting to improve, always pushing to do things better, more efficiently, and in the end, deliver more value.
That makes sense, but it also sounds like a ton of work.
Yeah.
I mean, where do you even start with something like that?
You know, you don't have to change everything all at once.
Okay.
Start small.
Mm.
Pick one area in your life or your work where you could apply just one of these principles.
Okay.
What's one thing you could try to optimize?
Well, I've been trying to make my morning routine more efficient.
Oh,
Maybe I could use some of those lean principles to cut out wasted time and get out the door faster.
perfect. Or maybe it's about how you communicate with your team at work.
Right?
Could you create a more structured way of giving project updates or feedback?
Yeah, actually, that's something we've been struggling with a bit. We have a lot of great ideas, but sometimes they get lost in the mix.
That's where those principles of process visibility and standardization can really make a difference.
This is really making me think differently. I'm starting to see the power of even small changes.
And what's really great is that those small improvements can actually lead to bigger changes, like more efficiency and productivity.
Yeah.
And not just for you, but for the people around you too.
So it's not just about individual gain. It's about creating a better system for everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I want you to take what you've learned today and just start experimenting. Don't be afraid to try new things and see how these principles can work for you.
This has been a fantastic deep dive. I feel like I have a whole new set of tools to approach problems and actually create positive change.
I'm glad to hear that. And remember, this is really just the beginning.
Right.
There's so much more to learn about operational excellence.
Absolutely. We'll be doing more deep dives into specific methods and real-world examples in future episodes. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss those.
Definitely.
But for now, start thinking about what you can optimize.
Yes. What can you do better? What can you improve?
And it's not about being perfect, it's about making progress.
Exactly. Embrace the journey and enjoy the results.
That's great advice. Thanks for joining us today, and until next time, keep diving deep and keep striving for excellence.